Alrighty. Hey there. Yep, don't care about you. Cool. Awesome. Just getting all set up here. Got my tea, got everything ready to go. Oh, I never posted on Discord. I should do that. There we go. Cool. Alrighty. What is cooking? Well, in terms of, not cooking, but literal, we have a nice cup of Earl Grey, and my normal mug is in the wash right now, so we have this nice Star Trek mug tonight, so... gotta be drinking lots of fluids, because it is allergy season, so, yeah. I figured tonight we'd just do kind of like a general, sit down and, trigger night. Just relaxing and let's talk to each other. And after the hour, as usual, we're going to continue our reading of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So, thanks for everyone coming out. If anyone has any trigger requests any time of the night, I have a lot of just assortment of stuff. If you have anything in particular you'd like to hear, it'll be there. Actually, I want to move you up a bit. There we go. Just so it's a bit closer. You could probably move me up. Okay, but that's like blocking me now. We'll find a happy medium eventually. As always, let me know if there's anything weird with audio levels. I know we were having some audio issues last week, so we had to stop early. But... we forgot to do it alright. I don't know why I'm trying to do binaural stuff. Because, as far as I know, YouTube doesn't handle binaural. But I'm used to when I'm actually like talking extremely softly and close to the mic. I mean, I'm just used to dealing with this. Sorry if I sound a little congested. As I said, it is allergy season. But in terms of other things we can do, I do have some work I need to do for doing some prep work for a campaign. I need to go through some books, and I did my D&D roleplay last week on the roleplay for like choosing your magic items for your wish list, but I actually still need to do that for real for my character. And I'm going to be doing a video next week kind of talking on that campaign because it is a brand new campaign. It is not JRPG Divinity. It is in fact another campaign. It's still JRPG. It's JRPG The Dark Empire. Campaign, sorry. A new D&D campaign. Delicious tea. But yeah, no, this is gonna be, it's JRPG The Dark Empire, which happens to the south of the Dragon's Valley, and I actually have a world map about to, and I'll post it when it's done. But yeah, no, I'm gonna do a video kind of talking about the campaign overview, but this one's gonna be a little different because we're going to have a rotating DM, which I haven't done in a number of years. So, we're gonna like rotate through who runs each like kind of very episodic adventure, which is different from how my campaigns normally go. I normally stick to things that are very more long form, very character driven, and not really like the episodic adventure type things you would do. But I mean, it has those, but it's not like the focus of the narrative. And it'll be a neat change. It's also nice to not have to be DM like every single week for this campaign, so it lets me put a little bit more time into prep work for like when it is my turn. I'm going to be playing a Shifter Seeker. It's we're playing 4E, so I'm a DPS, but I'm like an area DPS. It's like a mix between like doing single target and area, but I'm like backline. I use a throwing spear, so I'm all about thrown weapons and things like that. So I throw a weapon, it bounces all past. The same cast of characters carry over each week. Yeah, it'll be the same character. The only character that won't be there is the DM's character. So it's like my character, which I still need to figure out a name for. Her in-progress name is Swindlin, because like every fourth person in the world of JRPG is saying Gwendolyn Brightheart, but she's a Swindlin Brightheart because well, her whole thing is that shifters are canonically like supposed to be like part lycanthropes, where like they're descended from lycanthropes. They have like minor like werewolf type stuff. But my whole lore is that I'm actually just a human who's been experimented on by the Dark Empire, and given like reptilian traits and stuff. But my character is convinced that the Dark Empire is actually run by snakes. So yeah, that's the whole thing. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, no, so it's like she won't show up for the first session, because the first adventure, big like little mini thing, because I'm running that. I'm running the Laboratory of Doom. But yeah, but then for the second level, like each person's like handing like a full level. So like once we're done with this adventure, they'll be at level 2. So I'm coming in at number 2, and my friend Sally will be taking over, and her character will take a backseat and won't be in that adventure. So, but otherwise it is the same cast -1 each week. I love the sound of these coasters. Honestly, it's rare that you find a coaster that doesn't have good ASMR sound. But you know, the whole like premise of this campaign is our brave heroes are braving the Dark Empire. Or something things. It's braving the Dark Empire, which is this like horrible regime, where the real enemy is capitalism. But it's the Dark Empire, and our heroes are part of like a valiant resistance movement against it. And essentially we're each adventure is either like a mission given to us by the renegade forces to help the poor people of the Dark Empire while taking down the tyrannical regime, or otherwise just general adventuring stuff, because I mean adventuring is lucrative and resistance groups needs funding too. Do anything. I love the idea of reluctant heroes or protagonists who do things for their own sake and not a higher code or moral. Do any of the races have characteristics that support this idea well? I mean, obviously, honestly, except for a few races like in Asimar or Deva, which like are inherently like morally good people who do things with them, that really works for any of them. That like just any sort of like neutral on the good evil scale character kind of like flows into that. So it's really more about the person you are, because it's just like there's like good in like evil and like selfish. Like humans, you'll find that among almost any race, except for those who are like inherently like it would defy their very nature to act like selfishly, because they're like part angel or something. But like good races that obviously like fit in that, or like the stereotypical I mean like humans are varied, and like they're kind of the catch-all. They work for anything, but kind of like just like the general like sellsword mercenary. You could always have or like the like the greedy dwarf who's only there really for the jewels that he could get in the end, which is like, yeah, he has some notions of honor and he'll keep up to his word, but really his bottom line is the money. Then there's like the general, like kind of like general outcasts of society, races. So your things like your half orcs and your half elves and your tieflings, which work well because it's just kind of like they're on the fringe of society. They're doing to get by, and things like that. I haven't played an orc in years. I've only ever played an orc once, and it was a orc bard. Who was not a good character, but his chosen instrument was a gong, and the chosen mallet was the enemy's head. But yeah, no. Tieflings, in like 3rd edition and 3.5, they're inherently evil because it was like they were like the opposite of the Aasimar, where the Aasimar were these people like descended from goodness and stuff. And now tieflings, they've kind of like changed the lore between like within 4th and 5th edition to being like their ancestors made some pacts with some demons and were kind of not great, and like they have evil leanings, but it's more societal presumptions about them for why they're considered to be evil, and they're not actually naturally inclined to be evil. They just think they are because they look like demons, but like they haven't like been like purebred evil since for like hundreds of years since their ancestors made the pact, because like their ancestors within the core D&D lore were like these human nobles who made pacts with hell to gain additional powers, and it had them grow horns and tails and stuff, and it passed on to their offspring. And then, of course, the common player description of tieflings is that they're really just sexy. That's all they are. They're misunderstood and sexy. Yeah, no, it's kind of like they were like children of like ancient warlocks. They're the descendants. Instead of a halfling having a quarterling or a doubling like a Superman, I'm sure doubling is like just a giant. Or an ogre. I think ogre would be closer to double. Like, giants are getting a bit large. Giants are usually at least huge size, while like ogres would be like large. And then really small. Thing is, like with any like base character class that is too like beyond that takes up more than one square, it gets awkward for dungeon design because they have to like start squeezing through spaces and that are small and things like that. Small ones that have the issue of their damage output is just there's a balance issue that comes into it. Mostly you see this in 3rd edition, but the balance issue is that their damage output is terrible because they can only use like tiny weapons and stuff, but they become very difficult to hit and stuff, and they have great bonuses to hit, which just makes them busted spellcasters. And fun fact, spellcasting gets really stupidly powerful in 3rd edition. I'm so excited for my 3rd edition game, because I'm playing a cleric wizard, and it's going to be so much fun. I get to be so broken once I get to like level 10 or so. If I can make it to level 10, I will be amazing. Delicious. Just got some tea here. I guess we could do this, although it is. Yeah, I think generally, like, the rules are, like, I'm generalizing between editions, yeah, no, all the campaigns I'm talking about, both JRPG Divinity and Dark Empire, were both starting at level 1. I mean, Dark Empire, I'm technically running it starting at level 2 because I am not participating in the first campaign, or the first adventure, and they'll all be leveled up to level 2 by the time I come in. But yeah, I guess we can... We're not reading this yet. Still another 40 minutes until we start reading. But I'm just grabbing things for... But yeah, no. But generally the word for squeezing is that they can't really do like normal like attacks and stuff while squeezing, but they can. But they don't move at speed, like full speed and stuff. Because the thing is, like, if you think like a person like doesn't take up a 5x5 space, like you could squeeze between like a smaller space, but you can't effectively fight in a smaller space, if that makes sense. So they don't need to really like make escape artist checks or acrobatics checks in that way. If that makes sense. Because it's like, yeah, you could walk down a corridor that's only like 3 feet across, like no problem. You only really need to start making checks before you, like, have to squeeze your shoulders through. It's just like you can't easily swing a sword when you're in that kind of situation. Try and control drive into the value in a Yaris and hurl it at the enemy. That's one thing that my character that I really need a name for, and I can't just keep calling her Swindlin. But I've spent all of my starting money for starting at level 2 on a giant riding lizard. So yeah, I'm just gonna be like there, like throwing, like I have a Tratnir, which is this like oversized, like the winged spear, but it's like this oversized throwing spear. Like riding in on a giant lizard. I'm like part like reptilian myself because of the experiments on me. Can half-elves be badass pirate captains? Yeah, totally. Honestly, I think they almost make the best because it's like half-elves are like naturally sexy, and you kind of have like to be like either like you have to be just like vicious or sexy to be a pirate captain, preferably both. And totally, and they have the extra dex modifier too, so they have like the extra like all the like fancy like sword work and like swinging on ropes and stuff. So totally. I know 3.5 actually has literally like prestige classes for being like various types of pirates and things like that. I've never played with them because I've never really played a long like nautical campaign where it would make sense to have those classes. I keep meaning to. I mean, there's room for it within JRPG, it just hasn't come up yet. I have a exciting commander night tomorrow night. I just have the deck boxes out because I need a pack for tomorrow. But bring in humans, which is exciting, and I still need to do deck tech on this deck because I recently have revamped it, and this will be like the 3rd humans EDH deck tech I've done. Because I did one for 5 color, I've done one for 4 colors, and now I'll do one for 2 colors. This is my this is the X deck I just did a deck tech on, and then I finally got a 3rd box of these, but Abzan Life Gain, because I love Abzan Life Gain, and this is like my favorite deck. This one is kind of hard to open though. Like it's just a very snug fit. No. Oh yeah, no, it's a blast, and the unfortunate thing about D&D is that either you have to get lucky and like have a group invite you, or you have to just carve out your own group. But I highly recommend it. It's just such a blast and so much fun, and honestly nowadays it's so easy to get into because 5e is really nice to jump into. It's also like very like popular right now, and it's kind of like moving into the mainstream, so it's easier to find people who are interested and things like that. So yeah, no, I highly recommend it. Like tabletop RPGs in general are just a blast, and I'm a sucker for fantasy, so like D&D is mainstream, but I legitimately, D&D is one of my favorite systems. I almost like it enough to make a YouTube channel about it. I have not seen that one. In your group, does everyone really get into on their own, or do they have some ambient music background? Does it help? My group is very good and they do get into it on their own, but I do music and stuff. I've been slacking on it a little bit, but way back when, like, the bard has been dead for like six months, but the bard would have like would essentially be control of like the music in the background, which is mostly accordion covers of various pop songs. But I will do like ambient music, and it is nice for setting the mood. But I've been slacking on that lately, just because it's just another thing to prep. But it is nice, and for the Dark Empire, I definitely will be taking more time because it's a rotating DM thing. I have more time between each session to be able to like do prep work, and I definitely want to do that. And like spend some time. I need to put together my playlist for the first session, which is going to be it's Church of the Dark Empire, the Laboratory of Doom. So yeah, no, it's essentially, if anyone is in the campaign that is watching right now, please go away. I don't think any of you watch my streams, but if you do, stop listening because I'm going to be talking about that. Yeah, no, now that they're gone, but essentially it's going to be, the group has been told that they need to, that the site of one of the, research facilities of the Dark Empire has been located in these abandoned mines and stuff like that. So it's going to be kind of like a general dungeon crawl as they explore the mines and stuff and try to locate this laboratory, and then they'll go in there and they'll find it and have to like rescue some captives because some of the spies who are trying to find this mine have disappeared. So now the renegade movement is sending in the party as some muscle to try to bust them out of the Laboratory of Doom. But like I'm gonna put together like for the outside, because there's an encounter on the outside, having like the nice like ambient rain music with like the thunder in the background as the abandoned mine shaft like looms before them, and then have like all the cave ambience, and I'll probably set up something to like layer like the sound, like for the first bit of the dungeon before they get too far in, like layer like the pounding sound of the rain muffled by the echoes of the caves and things like that, and getting it together. It's kind of funny that like a lot of like the ambient sounds that are really good like are also like advertised as like ASMR tracks to like help you sleep. But it doesn't all have to be like dramatic, like ambient sounds and stuff like that. Like even just like general nature, like a slight nature sounds and things like that really just kind of does a nice thing to add to the ambience of it all. That is until someone in the Discord like adds to the cue like Africa by Toto, and then it ruins the mood entirely. Back when back when the bard was still in the party, this was way back when. I'm gonna switch things that I'm holding because someone's heavy. The bard was like had like stuff playing in the background, which was just kind of like general good, like generic accordion music, because they were a bard that played the accordion, and they had it playlisted up, and which was like most of the part it was just like normal stuff, and we kind of were ignoring it. But then we had like one of the other characters having like a really good dramatic like role-playing moment with like her and me, and it was like we were both really into it. She was emotional and crying and stuff like that. But it's like as like we were reaching like the crescendo of these emotional beats that we were doing, we realized like there was a stopping, and then we hadn't realized that this is what had been playing. It was an accordion cover, and the refrain of Wrecking Ball came on, and it completely was this complete disconnect from like the emotional beats that were going on, and it was like she was like tearing up. It's like, I can't believe I did that. And then just for the accordion, it was just like what do you mean vanished? Like, Amazon has account recovery if you remember the email associated with it. Otherwise, contact Amazon support. Amazon support is actually relatively decent. No. Would you mind if I link you a short song you listen to later? Is a short sample found? Are you on the Discord? Because it'd be better to like post it on the Discord or message me on Discord. If not, go ahead. Yeah, I've never been able to get into Critical Role. Honestly, I just haven't been able to get into like any like D&D podcasts since like way back when listening to Critical Hit. Critical Hit is awesome, and I need to catch up on it. But that one is a 4E game, but it's really well done. It's less edited and it's more just like raw like gameplay. But it's really good. Cool. I will copy link location and I will check that out later. It's on another tab. Yeah. I should really have that in the description of this being in my Discord, but all my social media stuff. But besides that, there is a link to it in like almost every other video I do. But it's cool. It's a good community we got in there. We're about at the 30-minute mark, so about another 30 minutes before we start continuing our reading of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's been quite a few weeks, and I've missed getting into it. I keep meaning to do like more work with like the actual like stuff with the stream and stuff, and not just having it just with like the video and chat. And also like we're posting it to both like YouTube and Twitch, but I haven't gotten around to doing that. Once I got around the stream, this is only the fifth. Well, I tried last week. I don't count that as full strap. This is only the 5th week I've been able to do this. So this is our first book that we're going through, and this is going to be replacing the because I had the Hobbit readings up on the channel for a while, and while I liked doing that series, it was hard as part of the normal schedule and things like that. So I'm switching over any longer book readings to Lily's Library Live, and channel readings will be for actual things, or it could be generally better, more reserved for like short stories and long form poetry and things like that. And also like collections of short term poetry too. That is also a thing. Oh, also welcome. Glad you can make it. Scratch my nose. I really need to do more general trigger videos. I've been really slacking on them. It's been months since I've done like a proper trigger video. No. And once again, if anyone has any trigger requests, let me know. I have tons of junk in my room. Let me see. What else do I got right here? I need to explain some D&D principles really seriously, like you were telling a anything in particular you have requests? Is there actually any glasses in here? No, there are not. I need to get new glasses. But I have the prescription, and like I wear contacts normally. But I've been waiting on getting my hair cut, and I've just been putting off finding a hairstylist because I haven't gotten my hair like really cut in like years, if you can't tell by how long it is. But it's really unhealthy and all uneven lengths and stuff. But yeah, no, I've been waiting on getting my hair cut before I choose my glasses because I'm thinking about getting bangs, and because of that changes your face shape, and I don't want to choose what frames I want before I know what my face shape will look like, and I can coordinate that. And it's just one of those things where it's like I need to get new glasses, but it's been putting off for ages. Also, my old glasses are super old, and no, you don't get to see me in them because they look terrible on me. It has to be right, because they just don't look good on me. You want sure, here's where they are. Won't hold them on for long because I'm wearing my contacts and will give me a headache. But I had these in high school, so it's just like my it just does not suit my aesthetic really. And also it's weird with oh yes, I have all these lights and stuff, so it doesn't really work for videos that well unless I position things differently. But it's these frames are not the look I'm going for. I tried switching to contacts a bit ago, but I couldn't go a week without them. Yeah, no, it took getting used to, but I just like them. I don't like them. Just let me think. I know they're not the worst. They're not objectively bad, but they're just objectively bleh for me. DVS at the tabletop is they're even. I think I really enjoy them. Yeah. The main thing is just for podcasts. It's I just don't have a good time to listen to podcasts because I used to listen to podcasts all the time when I was commuting to school and stuff like that. But now I do most of my stuff from home between coding and my maps and things like that. And stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, I'm planning on my hair. I'm thinking getting it not that much, but getting it a little bit below the shoulders, and getting just over the bangs to cover my forehead. Just because I don't know, I want to change it up a little bit. Also, my part is really annoying. I don't want to have to keep dealing with my part because yeah, it sucks. But yeah, no, I just don't have a good time to listen to podcasts. Because it's sure, I could listen to podcasts while I'm coding and stuff, but I find that comes in the situation where I don't like doing that because either I can't pay attention to my coding and that requires a lot of critical thought and stuff, or I realize I have not been listening to the podcast at all, and I have to rewind a little bit, and rewinding in a podcast is really annoying because all of a sudden I don't know where I am, and then it's oh wait, no, have I sound that? Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work well. It's the main thing I do while coding, that is any level of distracting is I do play RuneScape while I'm coding, but that doesn't require critical thought. It doesn't require me to pay attention. I'm just AFK wood cutting. If anything, it almost keeps me more focused because it's I'm not checking things Twitter or something like that. It's just okay, let's check that screen. Am I still wood cutting? Good, okay, back to coding. What are you coding for? I am currently trying to get my C# skills up to snuff to move into it more professionally. But yeah, no, what I'm currently working on is I'm working on just getting my C# skills and as well as my Unity abilities. So I'm currently working on kind of like a proof of concept game right now, which I do want to do some like showcase videos for. I guess I could talk about it a little bit, but it's called Bibliomancy, and it's a management game where you are, playing, you play as a bibliomancer, and you're working with an adventuring party, but while they do all the grand quests going off and like fighting monsters and looting dungeons and stuff, you're just back at the end and you're the person doing all of their like books and paperwork. So you're the one who like go out and like finds their contacts to find more work for the group, or divvies up the treasure, works on like brokering, selling things that they don't need and things like that. So it's kind of like all of the parts of an RPG that isn't the RPG. So yeah, no. You have like a full like standard like RPG like skill tree, but it's all things like accounting and social skills and organization and things like that. So oh, super sorry. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. It's almost to the point of an alpha state. I want to do some more work. I do not think that my mic is sensitive enough for that. I just found your stuff and I look forward to watching the whole FB50 series. I do love the cartography / math stuff. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I kind of just stopped streaming the FTB Infinity stuff. One day our group will get back to that whatchamacallit? That server. It's still running and stuff. Not right now. Sorry. I'm actually curious if it could. Where do you plan on releasing the game? I am not even thinking about releasing at this point. It's so far away, like, I may not end up even finishing it. But it's like more of a proof of concept thing. Once I spend more work on the visuals of it, I will do some show off like video and streams of it. So right now, most of what I have done is just like a lot of base engine work. It does not have large amounts of front end and game design, where it's like I have all the systems to handle things like quests and items and random events and things like that, but I don't actually have the actual quests and items and random events written yet. So it's kind of like you boot up the game and it's just like, oh, here's the things like quests are available that you can like choose for the group. Do you want to choose quest 1, quest 2, quest 3? And it has like quest 1 description in the description box, quest 2 description, and like placeholder rewards and stuff. So it's like, it's not, the engine work is there, but it's just I haven't written a lot of the content for it. That said, one thing I have been focusing on is making it very easily moddable in every way, and that's really been a huge focus for me. So it's very easy for people to add their own content once it's actually there, and it's very modular in that way. So yeah. Yeah, like if I was to look into releasing it like once it's further along, I'd probably just do like a lazy route and just do something like, I'd probably like first gauge interest, like I might do like run like a Kickstarter or something to just like gauge interest, like, hey, is this something that people would be interested in that I should pursue doing more of, and do a Kickstarter, get some money so I can like hire like some artists and things like that to do some like, to help design like the UI and things like that. Once the other components are in, and it's just kind of like, do I want to push this to make it look like a final project and raise some capital to put that in for the final parts of it, but I want to have a base prototype working and pretty much ready for those to plug in. I mostly just work in Unity because I mostly just know C#. Also, just I feel like Unity is just very approachable. Also in the area, for the Seattle area that I'm in, Unity is one of the more useful ones to know, just because there are a lot of indie game companies which are basing their stuff in Unity. yeah, no, that's kind of the basis of the game where you're doing that. And like it's one of those things where like you manage their finances, but you also have to keep the party happy. Like you have to like your part of your responsibility is like allocating the treasure. Like some of your characters might be greedy and want like more than what is maybe rightfully their share and things like that. So it's like, but you can use like if you like invest in your interpersonal skills, you can help soothe their relations and things like that. You might have to deal with like inter party conflicts, and if someone gets too angry at the party, they might leave, and you have to use your contacts to maybe recruit someone else to the party, and alternatively, like if everyone gets mad at you, you might get fired and have to start a new adventuring party. At which point you're not set to player zero because you all have your own personal money and like your skills and stuff, but you will probably have to start with like maybe a less prestigious party and kind of build them up a little bit. One of the resources you have as a bibliomancer is your renown, how well known you are, and the higher your renown, the more likely you are to be able to like be picked up, both attract more experienced things. Yes, the party members can get in relationships with each other, and that has their own like random events that can happen, and can affect their interpersonal stuff. Like eventually, like maybe your party gets successful enough, so you have to like I haven't programmed this yet, but the party might get successful enough, and or doing things, and like okay, maybe they don't want to work out of like the cheap tavern room, and you have like things to manage, like the construction of a proper guild hall and things like that. So lots of like features there, and like with like but you're just doing all the management stuff. It's all the stuff that isn't the adventuring. That's your job. And eventually one thing you can do, because I want to have like kind of like I want to be like an iterative game where like you can prestige in a way, and one thing you do that is eventually you get an apprentice after a while, and you start training that apprentice, and eventually you can retire, and then you will start playing as the apprentice, which you start at like, they probably they start with a new adventuring party and things like that, but when you do so, you get to trade in like your renown and stuff as a reward currency to like have different like prestiging bonuses. Because I do really like that aspect of a lot of games and things like that, and kind of have that iterative, like you can like get to where you are faster and move beyond that. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. About 10 more minutes until we switch over to some nice Hitchhiker's Guide. It's prestige voluntary, or you can meet a bad end halfway and be forced to. You personally don't meet a bad end, like the bad end that you experience, because you're not in danger. Like, I've decided like purposely that you can't really die. And the thing is that you really can't get an apprentice until you reach a certain level and take certain perks to actually like be able to choose that. Of course, this is all configurable and moddable, that I've made it have there. But it's kind of like the prestige isn't an option until the late game anyway. The bad end you can get is usually either like your entire party goes into a dungeon and dies and you're left without a party, and then you have to find like new people and recruit new people, or you get fired because the party like hates you because you've been hoarding all of their gold or whatever. Yeah, no, probably most likely I have not seen that. I keep meaning to check out some of his stuff because he's been recommended to me before. Yeah, like things like a guild hall getting raided could happen, but that probably would more deal with like you get injured. So kind of like the main flow of the game is it's pseudo turn-based, where it's like every day you do stuff and different tasks you do take so much time, and if you get injured it takes longer for you to like recover and things like that. You might have to like spend resources on like healing yourself and things like that, and things like that. But I haven't really included death because because of how the prestiging system works, and it would just generally be, I think, an unfun mechanic. All I could see maybe doing that has like having like a harder, like an option being like no like permadeath or something like that. But yeah, no, yeah, it's kind of like that. But yeah, no, I'm really excited for it. I've been working on it a lot, and I really like how it is. Like, it's not quite at the point where it's like I want to show people, because it's very ugly, and most of like the fancy stuff is in the back end of things and not the front end of things. And like the UI looks awful. Like currently, like what I'm working on, like getting it to like an alpha state to send it to some of my friends to do some, like get some other pairs of eyes on it, is I'm currently making sure that you can actually play it without tons of console commands, because that's currently how I do it for like all my testing and stuff, is that I haven't needed actual UI elements because I just trigger everything from the console, and that obviously isn't great if I'm bundling it up and sending it to someone. I don't want to have to send them the file and also be like, also here's this list of console commands you have to know to actually play the game. So I'm kind of like working on UI stuff because I've been neglecting the back-end development side, or the front-end development side of things. Also, I just need more content because I've been doing like, so that's just like general more game design. Oh. Yeah, getting to the point where we're gonna start reading in about 5 minutes or so. But yeah, no, definitely I'll start doing more stuff for that, and doing more like dev diary type videos, I guess. And kind of like just building up interests and stuff. Thanks. Thank you for coming. Yeah. No, but yeah, no, it's something that's I'm really excited for, and I hope, people find it interesting. I hope I can gauge interest. Like, I would love for people like to be interested in people, like something that people would be willing to like play in the future and like work on, because I've had a lot of fun with it. But honestly, what it is mostly is, for me personally, just have like something that, even if I don't necessarily publish it, which I do want to, like probably maybe publish it to say that I have published this game, even if it's not like be all and all, like I am publishing this to make lots of money, but more just being like, I'm a published game developer for resume stuff reasons. But it would be cool if like people are interested in seeing that and stuff. Plane going overhead. What kind of videos do you enjoy playing? I love simulation games and I love grand strategy games. So like things like some of my favorite games right now are like Crusader Kings 2. I used to play a lot of EU4, but I haven't really been playing that much EU4 lately. I love Kerbal Space Program. I love Factorio. I love heavily modded Minecraft. I love RuneScape, but I'm a big MMO player, but I really haven't had a good MMO for a while. Ever since I got burned out on Guild Wars 2, like a couple years ago. I'm just kind of like right now, I'm just holding out for the Magic MMO, which I'm excited for, but it's still a while away. No. Yeah, I've heard of that. I have not played that. I mean, I love like all the classic ones, like Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale and whatchamacallit, Neverwinter Nights, like all those. I love those, like all the Infinity Engine games. Well, let's also take on D&D and more just D&D, because it is just 2nd and 3rd edition D&D. No. Yeah, no, my main thing is just like, I'm actually not a fan of first-person games. Like, one of the few people, like, first-person games I really like playing is Minecraft. But even then, I like Minecraft more for the engineering logistics side of it, from, like, heavily modded Minecraft. Rather than the actual, like, adventure parts of it. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, I know. I know. I just get like very like paranoid where it's just like when it's like in first person, especially the game includes spiders or bugs. I don't handle those very well. I got used to the Skyrim ones, so, but at least there aren't that many of them there. It's like I've never been able to play Fallout because it's just like so many giant bugs that terrify me. Alright, I am going to kind of change gears here, and we're gonna start our reading of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I know some of you leave at this point, just because it's not your thing, and cool, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I love that here. 4 a.m. Oh yeah, that's about when I'll probably go to bed. Oh, well, thank you for coming. I'm gonna put these pillows on my thing so I can actually, like, put the book down. No. But yeah, no. Oops, sorry about that. But for those of you who are perhaps heading out soon, thank you for coming. Where were we? Okay, so right before we left, Ford and Arthur were dropped out into the vastness of space after getting thrown off of the Vogon ship. Yeah, no, it's midnight here because I'm here in the wilds of the Seattle area. Okay, so Ford and Arthur got dropped off, thrown off the Vogon ship, and are now drifting off in the emptiness of space. Chapter 8. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a wholly remarkable book. It has been compiled and recompiled many times over the years and under many different editorships. It contains contributions from countless numbers of travelers and researchers. The introduction begins like this. Space, it says, is big. Really big. You won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-boggling big it is. I mean, you may think it's just a long way down the road to the chemist, but that's just peanuts to space. Listen, and so on. After a while, the style settles down a bit and begins to tell you things that you really need to know, like the fact that the fabulously beautiful planet Bethsimilin is now so worried about the cumulative erosion by 10 billion visiting tourists a year that any net imbalance between the amount you can eat and the amount you excrete while on the planet is surgically removed from your body weight when you leave, so that every time you go to the laboratory, it is vitally important to get a receipt. To be fair, when confronted by the sheer enormity of distances between the stars, better minds than the one responsible for the guide's introduction have faltered. Some invite you to consider for a moment a peanut in Reading, and a small walnut in Johannesburg, and such other dizzying concepts. The simple truth is that interstellar distances do not fit into the human imagination. Even light, which travels so fast that it takes most races thousands of years to realize that it even travels at all, takes time to journey between the stars. It takes 8 minutes to journey from the star Sol to the planet where the Earth used to be, and 4 years more to arrive at Sol's nearest stellar neighbor, Alpha Proxima. For light to reach the other side of the galaxy, for it to reach Damogran, for instance, takes rather longer, 500,000 years. The record for hitchhiking this distance is just under 5 years, but you don't get to see much on the way. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy says that if you hold a lungful of air, you can survive in the total vacuum of space for about 30 seconds. However, it does go on to say that with space being so mind-boggling size that it is, that the chances of getting picked up by another ship within those 30 seconds are 2 to the power of 276,709 to 1 against. By a total staggering coincidence, that is also the telephone number of an Islington flat where Arthur once went to a very good party and met a very nice girl whom he totally failed to get off with, and she went off with a gatecrasher. Though the planet Earth, the Islington flat, and the telephone have all been demolished, it is comforting to reflect that they are all in some small way commemorated by the fact that 29 seconds later, Ford and Arthur were rescued. Chapter 9. A computer chattered to itself in alarm as it noticed the airlock open and closed itself for no apparent reason. This was because the reason was in fact out to lunch. A hole had just appeared in the galaxy. It was quite exactly a nothingness of a second long, a nothingth of an inch wide, and quite a lot of millions of light years from end to end. As it closed up, lots of paper hats and party balloons fell out of it and drifted off through the universe. A team of 7 3-foot-high market analysts fell out of it and died, partly of asphyxiation, partly of surprise. 239,000 lightly fried eggs fell out of it too, materializing in a large wobbly heap on the famine-struck land of Pogrill in the Pansel system. The whole Pogrill tribe had died out from famine except for one last man, who died of cholesterol poisoning some weeks later. The nothingness of a second for which the whole existed reverberated backwards and forwards through time in the most improbable fashion. Somewhere in the deeply remote past, it seemed it seriously traumatized a small random group of atoms, drifting through the empty sterility of space, and made them cling together in the most extraordinarily unlikely patterns. Those patterns quickly learned to copy themselves. That was part of what was so extraordinary about those patterns, and went on to cause massive trouble on every planet they drifted to. This is how life began in the universe. 5 wild event maelstorms swirled in very vicious storms of unreason and spewed up on a pavement. On the pavement lay Ford Prefect and Arthur Dent, golfing like half-spent fish. "There you are," gasped Ford, scrabbling for a finger to hold on the pavement as it raced through this third reach of the unknown. "I told you I'd think of something." "Oh, sure," said Arthur. "Sure." "Bright idea of mine," said Ford, "to find a passing spaceship and get rescued by it." The real universe ached sickeningly away beneath them. Various pretend ones flitted by silently, like mountain goats. Primal light exploded, splattering space-time with goblets of jello. Time blossom matter shrank away. The highest prime number coalesced quietly in a corner and hid itself away forever. "Oh, come off it," said Arthur. "The chances against it were astronomical." "Don't knock it. It worked," said Ford. What sort of ship are we in?" asked Arthur, as a bit of eternity yawned beneath them. I don't know," said Ford. "I haven't opened my eyes yet." Nor have I," said Arthur. The universe jumped and froze and quivered and splayed out in several unexpected directions. Arthur and Ford opened their eyes and looked about in considerable surprise. "Good God," said Arthur. "It looks just like the seafront at Stouthend." "Well, I'm relieved to hear you say that," said Ford. "Why?" "Because I thought must be going mad." "Perhaps you are. Perhaps you only thought I said it." Ford thought about this. Well, did you say it, or didn't you? He asked. I think so, said Arthur. Well, perhaps we're both going mad. Yes, said Arthur, but we'd be mad, all things considering, to think about that this was Southend. Well, do you think this is Southend? Oh, yes. So do I. Therefore, we must be mad. I stay for it. Yes, said a passing maniac. Who was that? Said Arthur. Who? The man with the 5 heads and the elderberry bush full of kippers? Yes. I don't know, just someone. Ah. They both sat on the pavement and watched with a certain unease as huge children bounced heavily along the sand and wild horses thundered through the sky, taking fresh supplies of reinforced railings to the uncertain areas. You know, said Arthur, with a slight cough, if this is Southend, there's something very odd about it. You mean the way the sea stays steady as a rock and the buildings keep washing up and down? Said Ford. Yeah, I thought that was odd too, in fact. He continued as with a huge bang Southend split itself into 6 equal segments, which danced and spun giddily around each other in lewd and litigious formations. There is something altogether very strange going on. Wild, yowling noises of pipes and strings seared to the wind. Hot doughnuts popped out of the road for 10 pence each. Horrid fish stormed out of the sky, and Arthur and Ford decided to make a run for it. They plunged through the heavy walls of the sound, mountains of archaic thought, valleys of mood music, bad shoe sessions and footling bats, suddenly heard a girl's voice. It sounded quite a sensible voice, but it just said, 2 to the power of 100,000, 2 to 1 against and falling. And that was all. Ford skidded down a beam of light and spun around trying to find a source for what the voice could be, but could see nothing that he could seriously believe in. What was that voice? Said Arthur. I don't know, yelled Ford. I don't know, and it sounded like a measurement of probability. Probability? What do you mean? Probability, like 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 5 to 400 5 to 4 against. It said 2 to the power of 100,000 to 1 against. That's pretty improbable, A 1,000,000-gallon vat of custard upended itself over them without warning. But what does it mean? Said Arthur. What, the custard? No, the measurement of probability. I don't know at all. I just think we're on some sort of spaceship. I can only imagine, said Arthur, but that this is not the first-class compartment. Bugles appeared in the fabric of space-time. Great, ugly bugles. "Rah!" said Arthur, as he felt his body softening and bending in unusual directions. Southend seems to be melting away. The stars are swirling a dust bowl. My legs are drifting off into the sunset. My left arm's come off too. A frightening thought struck him. Hell, he said. How am I going to operate my digital watch now? He wound his eyes desperately in Ford's direction. Ford, you're turning into a penguin. Stop it. Again came the voice. 2 to the power of 75,000 to 1 against and falling. Ford waddled around his pond in a furious circle. Hey, what are you doing? He quacked. Where are you? What's going on? Is there any way of stopping this? Please relax, said the point pleasantly, like a stewardess on an airline with only 1 wing and 2 engines, one of which was on fire. You are perfectly safe. That's not the point, raged Ford. The point is now I am a perfectly safe penguin, and my colleague here is rapidly running out of limbs. It's all right. I've got them back now. 2 to the power of 50,000 and 1 to 1 against and falling, said the voice. Admittedly, said Arthur. Hey there, Liam. They're longer than I usually like them, but there isn't anything, squawked Ford in avian fury. You feel you ought to be telling us. The voice cleared its throat. A giant petit four loloped fell into the distance. "Welcome," said the voice, "to the starship Heart of Gold." The voice continued. "Please do not be alarmed," it said. "Be anything you see or hear around you. You are bound to feel some initial ill effects as you have not been rescued from certain death at an improbability level of 2 to the power of 276,000 to 1 against, possibly much higher. We are now cruising at a level of 2 to the power of 25,000 to 1 against and falling, and will be restoring normality just as soon as we are sure what is normal anyway. Thank you. 2 to the power of 20,000 to 1 against and falling." The voice cut out. Ford and Arthur were in a small luminous pink cubicle. Ford was wildly excited. "Arthur," he said, "this is fantastic. We've been picked up by the ship powered by the infinite improbability drive. This is incredible. I'd heard rumors about it before. They were all officially denied, but they must have done it. They've built the improbability drive. Arthur, Arthur? What's happening?" Arthur had jammed himself against the door into the cubicle, trying to hold it closed, but it was ill-fitting. Tiny furry hands were squirming themselves through the cracks. Their fingers were ink-stained, and tiny voices chattered insanely. Arthur looked up. "Ford," he said, "there's an infinite number of monkeys outside who want to talk about the script for Hamlet they've been working on." Chapter 10. The infinite improbability drive is a wonderful new method of crossing vast interstellar differences in a mere nothingness of a second, all without the tedious mucking about in hyperspace. It was discovered by lucky chance, and then developed into a government form of propulsion by the galactic government's research team on Damogran. This, briefly, is the story of its discovery. The principle of generating small amounts of finite improbability by simply hooking up the logic circuits of a Bamble-Weenie 57 sub-meson brain to an atomic vector plotter suspended in a strong Brownian motion producer, say a nice hot cup of tea, were of course well understood, and such generations were often used to break the ice parties by making all the molecules in the hostess's undergarments leap simultaneously to one foot to the left, in accordance with the theory of indeterminacy. Many respectable physicists said that they weren't going to stand for this, partially because it was a debasement of science, but mostly because they didn't get invited to those sorts of parties. Another thing that they couldn't stand was the perpetual failure that they encountered in trying to construct a machine which could generate the infinite improbability field needed to flip a spaceship across the mind-paralyzing distances between the farthest stars. And in the end, they grumpily announced that such a machine was virtually impossible. Then, one day, a student who had been left to sweep under the lab at a particularly unsuccessful party found himself reasoning this way. If, he thought to himself, such a machine has a virtual impossibility, then it must logically be a finite improbability. So all I have to do in order to make it is to work out exactly improbable it is. Feed that figure into the finite improbability generator, give it a freshly cup of really hot tea, and then turn it on. He did this, and was rather startled to discover that he had managed to create the long-sought-after golden infinite probability generator out of thin air. It startled him even more that just after he was awarded the Galactic Institute's prize for extreme cleverness, he got lynched by a rampaging mob of respectable physicists who had finally realized that the one thing they couldn't stand was a smartass. Chapter 11. The infinite improbability-proof cabin of the Heart of Gold looked like a perfectly conventional spaceship, except it was perfectly clean because it was so new. Some of the control seats hadn't even had the plastic wrappings taken off yet. The cabin was mostly white, oblong, and about the size of a smallish restaurant. In fact, it wasn't perfectly oblong. 2 long walls were raked around in a slight parallel curve, and all the angles and corners of the cabin were contoured in excitingly chunky shapes. The truth of the matter is that it would have been a great deal simpler and more practical to build the cabin as an ordinary three-dimensional oblong room, but the designers would have been gotten miserable. As it was, the cabin looked excitingly purposeful, with two large video screens ranging over the controls, and guidance system panels on the concave wall, and long banks of computers set into the convex wall. In one long corner, a robot sat humped, its gleaming, brushed steel head hanging loosely between its gleaming, brushed steel knees. It too was fairly new, but though it was beautifully constructed and polished, it looked somehow as if the various parts of it, more or less humanoid body, didn't quite fit properly. In fact, they fitted perfectly well, but something in bearing suggested that they might have fitted better. Zaphod Beeblebrox paced nervously up and down the cabin, brushing his hands over the pieces of gleaming equipment and giggling with excitement. Trillian sat hunched over a clump of instruments reading off figures, her voice carried round the tannery system of the whole spaceship. 500 to 1 against and falling, she said. 4 to 1 and 1 against and falling. 3 to 1, 2 to 1. Probability factor of 1 to 1. We have normality. I repeat, we have normality. Hey there. She turned her microphone off and turned it back on with a slight smile and continued. Anything you can't still cope with is therefore your own problem. Please relax. You will be sent for soon. Zaphod burst into annoyance. Who are they, Trillian? Trillian spun up in her seat to face them and shrugged. Just a couple of guys that seem to have picked up an open space, she said. Section ZZ plurals, ZZ9 plural Z alpha. Well, that's a very sweet thought, Trillian, complained Zaphod. But do you really think that'd be wise under the circumstances? I mean, here we are, on the run and everything. One second. Sorry, my contacts have appeared to have thing. This is a 24/7 live stream. It is not. It is every Friday starting at 11 Pacific, and we head till about half after midnight for the first hour as general creators, and then we move into we do continue our reading of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for like another half hour after that. The recordings of this will be up on my channel in like a couple days. But do you really think it's wise under those circumstances? I mean, here we are on the run and everything, and we must have the police of half the galaxy after us by now, and we stopped to pick up hitchhikers. Oh, okay, so 10 out of 10 for style, but minus several hundred for good thinking, yeah? He tapped irritably at a control panel. Trillian quietly moved his hand before he tapped anything important, whatever Zaphod's qualities of mind might include. Dash, bravado, conceit. He was mechanically inept and could easily blow up the ship with an extravagant gesture. Trillian had come to suspect that the main reason he had such a wild and successful life is that he never really understood the significance of anything he did. Zaphod, she said, patiently, they were floating unprotected in open space. You wouldn't want them to have died now, would you? Well, no, but not as such, but... Not as such, not die as such, but... Trillian cocked her head on one side. Well, maybe someone else would have picked them up later. A second later, and they would have been dead. Yeah, and if you'd taken the trouble to think about the problem a bit longer, it would have gone away. You would have been happy to let them die. Well, not happy as such, but... Anyway, said Trillian, turning back to the controls, I didn't pick them up. What do you mean? Who picked them up, then? The ship did. Huh? The ship did, all by itself. Huh? While we were in the improbability drive. But that's impossible. No, Zaphod, just very improbable. Yes. Look, Zaphod, she said, patting his arm. Don't worry about the aliens. They're just a couple of guys, I expect. I'll send the robot down to get them and bring them up here. Hey, Marvin. In the corner, the robot's head swung up sharply, and then wobbled around imperceptibly. It pulled itself up to its feet, as if it were 5 pounds heavier than it actually was, and made what an outside observer would have thought it was a heroic effort to cross the room. It stopped in front of Trillian and stared through her left shoulder. I think you ought to know that I'm feeling very depressed, it said. Its voice was low and hopeless. Oh, good, muttered Zaphod and slumped in a seat. Well, said Trillian, in a bright, compassionate tone, here's something to occupy you and keep your mind off things. It won't work. I have an exceptionally large mind, droned Marvin. Marvin? warned Trillian. All right, said Marvin. What do you want me to do? Go down to the number 2 entry bay and bring up the 2 aliens up here under surveillance. With a microsecond pause, a finely calculated micromodulation of pitch and timbre, nothing you could actually take offense at, Marvin managed to convey his utter contempt and horror of all things human. Just that, he said. Yes, said Trillian firmly. I won't enjoy it, said Marvin. Zaphod leaped out of the shade. He's not asking you to enjoy it, he shouted. Just do it, will you? All right, said Marvin, like a tolling of a great cracked ball. I'll do it. Good, said Zaphod. Great, thank you. Marvin turned and lifted his flat-topper triangular red eyes towards him. I'm not getting you down at all, am I? He said pathetically. No, Marvin, said Trillian. It's fine, really. No. I wouldn't like to think that I was getting you down. No, don't worry about that, the Lil continued. You just act as comes naturally, and everything will be fine. You sure you don't mind? No, Marvin. No, Marvin. Lil Trillian, we're fine. Just part of life. Marvin flashed her an electronic look. Life, said Marvin. Don't talk to me about life. He turned hopelessly on his heel and lugged himself out of the cabin, with a satisfied hum and click of the door closed behind them. I don't think I can stand that robot much longer, Zaphod, growled Trillian. Do you ever take recommendations for books that we need to read for school instead of reading? I listen to you. I mean, I am taking recommendations. If you want to send them on the Discord or here or something, I'll keep them in mind. That said, we are still quite a few weeks away from finishing this one. Unfortunately. The Encyclopedia Galactica defines a robot as a mechanical apparatus designed to do the work of a man. The marketing division of the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation defines a robot as your plastic pal who's fun to be with. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy defines the marketing division of the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation to be as a bunch of mindless jerks who'll be the first to are against the wall when the revolution comes, with a footnote to the effect that the editors would welcome applications from anyone interested in taking over the post of robotics correspondent. Curiously enough, an edition of the Encyclopedia Galactica that had good fortune to fall through the time warp from 1,000 years in the future defined the marketing division of the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation as a bunch of mindless jerks who were first against the wall when the revolution came. The pink cubicle winked out of existence. The monkeys had sunk away into a better dimension, and Ford and Arthur found himself in the embarkation area of a ship. It was rather smart. I think this ship is brand new, said Ford. How can you tell? Asked Arthur. Have you some exotic device for measuring the age of metal? No, I just found this sales brochure lying on the floor. It's a lot of the universe can be yours stuff. Ah, look, I was right. Ford jabbed at some of the pages and showed it to Arthur. It says, sensual new breakthrough in our probability physics. As soon as the ship's drive reaches infinite improbability, it passes through every point in the universe by be the envy of every other major government. Wow, this is big league stuff. Ford hunted excitedly through the technical specs of the ship, occasionally gasping with astonishment as he read. Clearly, galactic astrotechnology had moved ahead in his years in exile. Arthur listened for a short while, but being unable to understand the vast majority of what Ford was saying, he began to let his mind wander, trailing his fingers along the edge of the incomprehensible computer bank. He reached out and pressed an invitingly large red button on a nearby panel. The panel lit up with the words, "Please do not press that button again." He shook himself. "Listen," said Ford, as he was still engrossed in the shores by a sales brochure. "They made a big deal of this ship's cybernetics. A new generation of the serious Cybernetics Corporation robots and computers, with a new GPP feature." GPP feature? What's that? I am reading The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, it says, genuine people personalities. Oh, said Arthur, sounds ghastly. A voice behind them says, "It is." The voice was low and hopeless and accompanied by a slightly clinking sound. They spun around and saw an abject steel man standing hunched in the doorway. "What?" they said. "Ghastly," continued Marvin. "All of it. Absolutely ghastly. Just don't even talk about it. Look at this door," he said, stepping through it. The irony circuits cut in his voice modulator as he mimicked the style of the sales brochure. "All the doors in this spaceship have a cheery and sunny disposition. It is their pleasure to open for you, and their satisfaction to close again with the knowledge of a job well done." The door closed behind them, and it became apparent that it didn't seem to have a satisfied sigh-like quality to it. "Ah," it said. Marvin regarded it with a cold loathing, while his logic circuits chattered with disgust and tinkered with the concept of directing physical violence against it. Further circuits cut in, saying, "Why bother? What's the point? Nothing is worth getting involved in." Further circuits amused themselves by analyzing the modular components of the door and of the humanoid's brain cells. For a quick encore, they measured the level of hydrogen emissions in the surrounding cubic parsec of space, and then shut down again in boredom. A spasm of despair shook the robot's body as he turned. "Come on," he droned. "I've been ordered to take you down to the bridge. Here I am, brain the size of a planet, and they asked me to take you down to the bridge. Call that job satisfaction? 'Cause I don't." He turned and walked back to the hated door. Excuse me," said Ford, following after them. "Which government owns this ship?" Marvin ignored him. "You watch this door," he muttered. "It's about to open again. I can tell by the intolerable air of smugness it suddenly generates." With an integrating little whine, the door slid open again, and Marvin stomped through. "Come on." The others followed quickly through the door and slid back into the place with pleased little clicks and whirs. "Thank you, the marketing division of the Serious Cybernetics Corporation," said Marvin, and trudged desolately through the gleaming curved corridor that stretched out before them. "Let's build robots with genuine people personalities," they said. "So they tried it out on me. I'm a personality prototype. You can tell, can't you?" Ford and Arthur muttered embarrassingly embarrassed little disclaimers. "Hey there." "I hate that door," continued Marvin. "I'm not getting you down at all, am I?" "Which government?" started Ford again. "No government owns it," snapped the robot. "It's been stolen. Stolen? Stolen? But by who? Asked Ford. Safad Beeblebrox. Something extraordinarily happened to Ford's face. At least 5 entirely separate and distinct expressions of shock and amazement piled up on it in a jumbled mess. His left leg, which was in mid-stride, seemed to have difficulty finding the floor again. He started to stare at the robot and tried to disentangle some dartoid muscles. So you fought Beeblebrox, he said weakly. Sorry. Did I say something wrong? Said Marvin, dragging himself on regardless. Pardon me for breathing, which I never do anyway. So I don't know why I bothered to say it. Oh God, I'm so depressed. Here's another one of those self-satisfied drawers. Life. Don't talk to me about life. No one even mentioned it, muttered Arthur irritably. Ford, are you all right? Ford stared at him. Did that robot say Safewell Beeblebrox, he said. And that, I think, is a good stopping point, because I believe it's another quite long chapter. Yeah. And it's about 12:30, which is when I bring it up. Hey there, Geared Second Bite. Sorry I'm ending right as you're getting here. But, hope you all enjoyed tonight. Hope you all enjoyed the stream, and I do these almost every Friday. I've been bad the last couple weeks, but every Friday at 11 o'clock Pacific. And, yeah, the videos for this will be up on the channel within the next couple days. And, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the stream, and thank you for coming, everyone. It's been a lot of fun. And I hope you all have a wonderful night's sleep. And have wonderful dreams. And as always, may your stories smile upon you.